Hi everyone, it's Zach Beck. I hope all is well and you're having a great day so far. With that being said, today I want to talk to you about how to save money in order to achieve financial independence. Now there's a common theme out in society where you're hearing it frequently being referred to as FIRE, or financially independent retired early. And many people are trying to find the ways in which they can achieve this goal. Now I think we need to take a quick step back and understand why would you want to actually go forward and have financial independence. Many people have different reasons for wanting to do so, perhaps not having to maintain a 9-to-5 job, wanting to be able to express yourself creatively through different outlets and having the time to do so, or simply being able to pursue something completely different that doesn't involve money at all. I believe it's important to understand that first in order to have the proper motivation moving into this, because it's important for you to have a goal that you can stick to, and if you have the reason behind it, the strong enough why to do it, you're going to make it happen. So let's jump into it. Now, the first thing you want to focus on when it comes to achieving financial independence is being able to save as much money as possible. Because as you're saving money, you want to be able to have that money grow over time so that way you can rely on it at a later time when you are financially independent. Now, there are various approaches to saving, and you're going to hear a myriad of different strategies and things that people will say, whether you don't order Starbucks or only eat rice and beans or don't go out to restaurants or whatever it might be. There's going to be a different mix for you. I think the important thing is having a mentality of wanting to save money where you can and looking at big ticket items first and then going down your budget and finding other areas where you can scale back as needed. My wife and I have done this in various respects, specifically with our housing costs. We found a way to drastically reduce our housing costs by going smaller, realizing we didn't need as much space and we'd have just as much fun living in our home even if it was a bit smaller because of the location and proximity to the activities that we like to participate in. So saving money is an important aspect of being able to achieve financial independence, because as you save money, then you have more money to invest. And then as you invest, your money can grow. Now, after saving money, and I know I just talked about that like as if it was some easy thing, and I know it's not. So when it comes to saving, there are various tools you might want to look at. There's some online applications like a budget format where you could use something along the lines of Every Dollar, where you're able to put your budget in a holistic approach and see where you can cut. You could also look at things like Truebill, which sees where your subscriptions are going, and maybe you have subscriptions you don't need anymore. Maybe reassessing the current home that you live in or the kind of car that you drive and saying, you know what, I could scale back from this because I have a bigger goal I want to achieve and I'm willing to make some short-term sacrifices to get to that goal. So whatever that is for you, just focusing on saving is really a critical piece to achieving financial independence. Second component of achieving financial independence is focusing on paying off high interest debt. Now, once you're able to alleviate yourself of having substantial forms of debt, it frees up the money that you have to be able to save it. So let's imagine, for instance, that you have a car loan or you have high interest credit card or perhaps a student loan. If you focus on paying those off first, those are no longer going to be the huge weight that you have on your shoulders that's preventing you from moving forward financially. Now, this is much easier said than done, and I want to let you know that I've had to deal with this myself, having high interest car loans, having to deal with significant high interest credit card debt due to purchases I made to improve my house, things like that, which looking back now, wish I had never done. However, going through the experience of paying off all of the debt, it freed myself up and allowed me to realize that, wow, I never want to be in that place again. So I found ways to be strategic moving forward with my finances to set myself up for success in the future. Now, if you're interested in paying off your debt, there are various options and strategies that you can employ. One that you might want to consider is called Financial Peace University from Dave Ramsey. Now, that's an approach where basically you go in, you take a class, get some fundamentals and understanding of how finances work, but then when it comes to paying off your debt, you use what's called the debt snowball method. And the debt snowball method is basically starting with your smallest debt first and then continuing to your biggest debt after that. So basically you'll take all your money, throw it at your smallest debt, then you take all the money after you've paid that debt off, then you put that onto your next biggest debt, and then you keep going after it until that's paid off, and then you take all the money that you've been putting towards that debt and do it again until you reach your biggest debt and pay it all off. Now, this is something that can take months or years to do so, but once you have a goal to do it and achieve it, I know it can be done because I've done it personally myself. So look at saving money, getting rid of high interest debt. And then what you also want to consider doing when it comes to spending money and how you allocate your resources to achieve financial independence is cutting back. Now, I talked about saving, but this is something a little bit distinct because when you're cutting money, you're looking at certain areas in your budget where you say you don't need to spend that at all. Ramit Sethi has a great saying. He's someone who's very involved in personal finance. I've heard him before, and I respect him quite a bit. And what he says is that spend extravagantly on the things that you love, but cut mercilessly on the things that you don't. So if you have things that you really care about in your life, feel free to continue to spend the money on those things, obviously in balance and in moderation, but on the things that you don't have any value or joy or they're not needed in your life, cut those out completely. And I think that's really critical. My wife and I have done that in various respects, and it's really not even changed our life at all. If anything, it's enhanced it. We don't have as many clothes or as many possessions. We've cut back on going out to certain stores, but we really enjoy still being able to go out to restaurants and travel and do other things and live life basically as if it was the way we did before, but now we're very intentional about it. So cutting back enables you to have more money to save, and now because you will have your debt paid off, now you have even more money coming in on a monthly basis, and that leads us to our final piece of achieving financial independence, taking the step of investing your money. Now, once you begin investing your money, then you're able to have that money grow over time. And by having it grow over time, you can get a certain amount of money invested into the stock market where that money then will begin to return, or what's called a return on investment, back to you. So investing, there are various strategies you can use. Some people want to buy individual stocks, others might want to purchase into a certain company. But what I would suggest, and it's something that I personally have used in my life, and I just want to let you know this is not financial advice, this is just what I have used, and it's something that has worked for me, and it's been very successful, and it's been proven historically, and that would be investing what are called index funds. Now, an index fund is basically a group of stocks that are connected to an index in the stock market, either the entire stock market or a specific index like the S&P 500. And when you invest into something like an index fund, what you're doing is you're placing a bet on the entire stock market or the entire index. And it's a much safer bet than, say, if you were to purchase one stock. So if you take that money and place it into an index, the money is going to grow according to where the stock market goes. So some years the stock market will be up, therefore your investments will be up. Some years the investment will go down because the stock market is going down. But historically, over the last 100 years, you will find that the stock market has returned, on average, adjusted for inflation, about 7% annually. And you'll find that as you invest, that money will grow over time, and that's due to compound interest. Now, if you look at compound interest, there are various formulas that go about this, but basically the money will grow over time because as your money grows every year, you take the dividends, or the money that you earned that year, and then it reinvests into that same investment, and then it grows, and then you do it again. And that compounding really has an effect long term. When it comes to achieving financial independence, you want to save money, you want to make sure you pay off all of your high interest debt, you want to make sure that you're cutting back on things that you no longer need, and then you're investing into the stock market, as like I said, with an index fund. Now, an index fund, there are various companies you can use for this. One I would recommend is Vanguard. Now, I'm not associated with Vanguard. I don't get paid by Vanguard, nothing to that extent. I'm just telling you what I use. And by going with Vanguard, you place your money into that index and just set it on autopilot and let it go moving forward from here. In addition to investing through an index fund, you also want to utilize other investment vehicles that are currently available to you, such as a Roth IRA or a 401k, which I have other videos about, so feel free to check those out at your time, but those are specific retirement accounts. Now, as you're investing your money, you want to get to a certain place where that money will provide you with a rate of return that can cover your annual living expenses. Now, this is something that's based on what's called the Trinity study. Now, in the Trinity study, it determined that once you're able to achieve a certain amount of money invested into the stock market, that money that can produce 4% of your income should then be able to produce the money you need to live on an annual basis. And once you get to that number, you're going to find yourself being financially free or financially independent. So that's basically the road to financial independence. And if you want to get there, it requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of sacrifice. But if you're strategic in how you approach this, it doesn't have to be too overwhelming. It can basically be an automated approach, and really it's a lifestyle more than anything that then you can carry on once you are financially independent. Because as you bring more money in, you realize you don't necessarily need more things, you don't need more room, you don't need more stuff, you just have more freedom. And that's really where you can find the most fulfillment and joy in your life, when you're not constantly being bombarded with your time being sucked away from having to earn money, if you have more time to be able to do the things that you love in this world. And I think that's why it's critical when we come to these different questions and ideas about personal finance, understanding how we can be financially independent, how we can invest. We need to really understand the why behind it all. And the why really is going to be determined by yourself. And whatever that reason is, whatever the rationale behind it is, I just want to let you know I support you. I want to encourage you, because the more freedom that you have, the greater impact you can make on this world. And that will help us all out in our society. So I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that as you move forward on your journey, you're able to achieve it. And I just want to let you know that as I'm talking about all these things, I don't want to be doing anything that is said in such a manner where this is either easy or foolproof, or anything where, I expect that this is something that can be done with a flick of a switch. I know how much work it takes and how difficult it can be, but I just hope that it's something that you can achieve, because I want you to unlock the freedom and the potential that you have in your life. So if you have any other questions or comments about this subject or about any other subject, feel free to comment below. I'd be happy to interact and answer anything you would like to know, and share a little bit more about my own story and my own history and anything that you might want to know about myself. And if you found this information helpful, feel free to like this video. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and I'd be really grateful for it as we continue to interact with one another. I hope you have a great day. Thank you again for your time, and until we meet, I'll talk to you next time.